I'll be your Fonzie tonight. Happy Tuesday, everyone. So New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez has been convicted for receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes from Egyptian businessmen. Experts believe it may have been some kind of pyramid scheme. Don't. I don't need your mercy laughs. As a result, Bob could be sentenced to a maximum sentence of 20 more years in New Jersey. Boy, when Menendez found out he was guilty, he must have shit gold bricks. All right. After the attempted assassination, many are saying Donald Trump is a changed man. And after Joe Biden was seen by his night nurse, he was also a changed man. Terrible. Last night, the energy in the arena when Donald Trump walked in was electric. The cheering was so loud it drowned out all the boos for Brian Kilmeade. R.I.P. Secret Service head Kimberly Cheadle's taking heat for not putting anyone on the roof where the shooter was because the roof slants. Apparently, she was afraid the fat agents would roll off. This is the dumbest excuse I've ever heard. Democrats are circulating a letter asking to delay the nominating process for next month's convention. They say they need the extra time to have President Biden stuffed and mounted. The president is reportedly considering endorsing term limits on the Supreme Court, says the guy who's been in the office since the invention of fire. Speaking of fire, a brutal heat wave is blanketing the East Coast. It's so hot, Jesse Waters is traveling with his top down. All right, let's do a monologue, shall we? Okay. Oh, stop. All right, I'll take it. So with the nomination of Trump and his VP, J.D. Vance, America woke up today to two white men who may well run the country for the next 4 years. That's two Hitlers for the price of one. So what's going on here? Why are evil white men not only leading in the polls, but adding minority voters the way Joy Behar adds chins? Right now, these two evil whiteys have the Democratic Party looking about as organized as a smash and grab at 7-Eleven. The truth is, there is a key difference between the left and right that goes beyond policy, which is why people of all types are shifting Republican. At heart, the right loves America. They're not afraid to show it. They're the ones who stand for the national anthem, who love the military, who see America as a force for good, and get satisfaction from their families, their country, and this show, of course. But the left is, quite simply, as miserable as Morning Joe when Mika's dieting. Or Mika when Joe's having his period. Both sides have their warriors, for sure, but at least the right are happy warriors. That's why we're winning. And thanks to Trump, Republicans got their groove back. For an example of the difference between the two sides, just look at the reactions to the assassination attempt. Think about it. The guy they hate gets shot, and they're the ones who are miserable, including many who made no secret that they wish the shooter hadn't missed. But our guy gets shot, and what happens? Everyone chants USA. Trump gets his head creased by a round from an AK, and he pops up full of defiance and love for country, looking for his odor eaters. Because that's what he meant by fight, of course. He meant fight for this place, fight for its founding principles, its freedoms, its strengths, not its damn pronouns. Now imagine the reverse. Thank you. Imagine the reverse. If Joe lost a single hair plug, he'd be in Walter Reed for a month. What a contrast. One president's got a bloody ear and the other needs miracle ear. You could wrap Trump's whole head in bandages like the friggin' mummy. He'd still be more aware of his surroundings than old Joe. And Biden rallies, they're in such boring, sad places, high school gyms where everyone acts like they're at a doctor's appointment. And it's a cross between Dr. Frankenstein and Dr. Kevorkian. Meanwhile, Trump rallies are massive and happy, and even with the shooting, people mourned, but they also moved ahead. You couldn't take them down. Trump has faced figurative bullets and now literal ones, and he just gets stronger. And he's always smiling. A real smile, too, not the skeletal grin Biden's had since his plastic surgeon stapled his ears behind his head. Circumstances have shaped Trump into a greater force and one who's having a ball, all while the media tried to paint him as soft. Oh, look, he fell. It was just a loud noise. Oh, it was probably glass, right? If these people were covering the Hindenburg, they would have told us, well, someone was just lighting farts. But if that happened to Biden, the media would be crying like Chris Christie when the McRib was discontinued. Meanwhile, the lawfare against Trump has been falling apart like a toilet seat on Lizzo's commode. I love the word commode. What can I say? Americans of all stripes and colors saw it as BS. So, doesn't it seem like there's something about the timing of all this? Biden's pathetic debate, the shooting with Trump just turning his head, the end of the documents prosecution. And now today's conviction of Menendez, as we see how the corrupt Democrats let a guy accused of being an agent of a foreign power to stay on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and receive classified briefings while on trial. Democrats, maybe it's time to ask yourself, is all this what happens when God or some other force for justice is on the other side? Because in this movie, we're the good guys. And the Dems know that finally they're the bad. And the reward is coming this November. So if you doubt any of this, just look at the supporters on each side. Trumpers are happy pappies, ready to fight, sure, but happily so. While the other side are hysterical, terror-stricken mopes that are as unhappy as Jerry Nadler's belt buckle. But the celebs on the right are out there swinging but enjoying the fight. Finally, just look at the name of Trump's deputy communications director. Her name is Caroline Sunshine. That's really her name. Can you get a happier name than Caroline Sunshine? She even looks like a Caroline Sunshine. And yet, no surprise, Joe's name is Biden, because that's all he's doing. Biden time. Let's welcome tonight's guest. His books are bestsellers in that they're best left in a cellar. Host of One Nation and co-host of Fox and Friends, Brian Kilmeade. He's got the boyish charm and does liberals harm. Host of The Guy Benson Show, Guy Benson. He has audiences rolling in the aisles when he tips over their wheelchairs. Comedian Joe Mackey. And she just flew in from New York, and boy, are her hair extensions tired. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor, Kat Duke. Kilby, you're an odd duck in that I assume you're a Republican, but you're miserable.
Is that a question?
Not really. It's just a statement.
So. Okay, that's fine. They are happy over there across the street. I have to agree with your idol, Dana Perino.
Yeah.
They are very happy. Mm-hmm. I think people are having a good time. For anybody that just saw the person they look up to most almost get assassinated 48 hours before this whole thing started. We go to a lot of events. I've never seen anything quite like this. Yeah. I mean, when you think about the drama that's taking place with Donald Trump and compared to 2016, 2016, half the place wanted to find a new nominee.
Right.
There was a big insurgency. Ted Cruz was up there going, I will not endorse Donald Trump. And his family dramatically walks down and takes the front row. And I'm thinking to myself, we are watching an active political civil war. And now there's nobody that you could find that's anti-Trump.
You know what this is?
Most of the Republican Party is for it.
This is following the plot of any movie. You have a first act, a second act, a third act. The first act was the Trump presidency. The second act was the fall from grace, the intermission with Joe Biden. But it dictated that there would be a third act. We're in the third act. And that's when the hero somehow looks like he's almost at the end. He gets hit by an assassin's bullet, but it's not over yet. It's so creepy how this follows a motion picture narrative, Joe. Speaking of creepy, you, to me, seem like an eternal optimist. Do you think there's any kind of underlying fundamental reason that Democrats generally are more unhappy, miserable? Is it the choices they make?
Yes, they're always kicking people out now.
Yeah.
The Republican Party has become the big tent party. You know, black, white, brown, rich, poor, fat, thin, gay, straight, male, female. You're all welcome, according to the invitation I got to Larry Kudlow's orgy. I mean, we don't kick people out like they do on the left. I mean, you can be a pathetic loser whose ideas have been rejected by the mainstream Republican Party, and we still say, come on in, Paul Ryan.
You nasty little man.
In Wisconsin, you say that.
Yes. Benson,
Yeah.
Guy Benson. I'm interested to know what you think of this idea, the happy warrior versus the miserable wretch.
Well, I think part of it also is an imbalance and a juxtaposition of self-awareness that plays into this. So let's talk about J.D. Vance just for a second, okay? You've already heard now from a lot of the media and the left and the Democrats saying he's so young. Does he nearly have the experience to be president if necessary? This is like coming out of the gate from last night, and then we'll see what he does tomorrow. He has to actually answer that question, and he'll have an opportunity to do so. But they're talking about governing experience, and they're wringing their hands about J.D. Vance. Joe Biden has been an elected politician since the earth cooled. Okay? He has been a D.C. insider politician at virtually every level forever. Look how that has gone for the country. The most experience ever has been a disaster for America. And then, again, the self-awareness point, they're like, well, J.D. Vance, he's so young. He's just known for his words. He hasn't even served out part of one Senate term. I'm like, that's Barack Obama. That is the resume of Barack Obama. And they all said he was ready to be president, and they elected him. So Vance has to answer the question, but Democrats and the media are in absolutely no position, given their love of Obama, to throw those types of grenades at J.D. Vance.
Good point. And also, J.D. Vance was born here. I'm joking.
I love cheese, Wisconsin.
Kat, you know what it is? I know that it's speaking of Wisconsin, people, I think that it became a modern, post-1960s belief that patriotism was cheesy. And that identity slowly became more important than patriotism. It wasn't love for country, it was a love for yourself. And I think that if you continually, obsess over yourself, you cannot help but be miserable because you're severely limited by the outside world if you're constantly concentrating on yourself. And the Democratic Party is a party about the self. What say you, Kat?
I think there's plenty, actually, of selfish people in both parties. I think there's plenty of miserable people who are MAGA and miserable people who are liberals. So I don't think it's one side's miserable, the other side's happy. In terms of the assassination attempt, you are correct that the MAGA people in the wake of it are very happy, and the liberals in the wake of it are very upset. But I think the reason for that is because getting shot made Trump look awesome.
Yeah.
Like, when I first heard that he got shot, I turned to my husband and I was like, he just won the election, right? And that's before I knew that the way that he handled it was getting up and fist pumping with blood coming down his face, because he wanted to assure everybody, like, I'm okay, right? Yeah. And that's this moment of leadership, and he looked very cool and like just such a badass in that moment. And then you compare that to, days before that, people were like, are we gonna get rid of Biden because he doesn't know what's going on? Their guy is having a hard enough time with the, metaphorical bullets of time.
Yeah.
So I think that's the reason for it. I mean, this was just the horrible situation, and then the way that he handled it. I don't think if I got shot that I'd be that chill about it.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah.
Joe Biden, like within the next week's gonna be like, true story, I did get shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get ready, pal, I was shot.
Yes. Nicked by a bullet. My left ear.
Back in Nam.
Back in Nam. By the way, I made a joke about it, but we're not doing it tonight on the show. This slanted roof thing, that's upsetting to me because I feel like it's a full-on lie. To tell people they didn't put people up there because it was a slanted roof. There were snipers on other slanted roofs.
More slanted.
And so many cops have seen this, have done this at all different levels, and know that it's a blatant lie. And they can't believe that we're expected to buy this.
Yeah,
so,
it's not going to work anymore. Nobody believes them. You know, we're not the same Americans that we were when you lied to us before. We've gotten smarter, or at least I have. And some say I look a lot younger.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.